got a quarterback, perhaps. You know, Stephen Garcia is going to get the call. But Connor Shaw, true freshman, enrolled here in January. Shaw's good. We like him a lot on tape.
Guys, I think in the 5 years Steve Spurrier's been here, I don't think he's ever had the same caliber quarterback he had when he was at Florida. Now, last year, Stephen Garcia had one of the best passing seasons in school history, but still, when you talk to Steve Spurrier about true freshman Connor Shaw, his eyes light up. You think, you get the sense of hope that just maybe this is the guy that's going to take this offense and this football team to the next level. And we're going to see him early tonight.
Did you notice, Reese, that Jesse alluded to those great Florida quarterbacks, of which he was one of those? I've mentioned one other name, Eric Norwood. For years, Eric Norwood on defense led this football team to greatness. He made plays all the time. Who's going to step up now at South Carolina on defense and get it back to that offense?
You know, a couple of guys who were expected to do so won't be in the lineup tonight. South Carolina against a high-powered Southern Mississippi offense. Kickoff not too far away from Columbia.
ESPN's College Football Primetime. Brought to you by Wrangler. For unbeatable comfort and value, you can count on Wrangler. Wrangler, real, comfortable jeans. Chick-fil-A, we didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich. And New York Life Insurance Company.
Welcome back to ESPN's College Football Primetime, served by Applebee's. Tonight, Williams-Brice Stadium, Columbia, South Carolina. Gamecocks in Southern Mississippi about ready to go. We go down to the sideline to Jen Brown.
Thanks, guys. Coach, we understand that Chris Culliver and Jarrell King are out. What is the reason for the late scratch?
Oh, we had a couple that didn't make it, but most of the guys are all ready to play. And you can tell our fans are ready for some football. This is a live crowd tonight.
That's right. It's very loud. Now, we understand that there's been a lot of talk about the quarterback situation. What did you see in Garcia that made you comfortable with him tonight?
Well, he's got more experience, and we think he deserves to start. And we'll see how it goes.
All right. Good luck, Coach. Guys?
All right, Jen, so as deftly as the former Heisman Trophy winner used to avoid the rush, Spurrier avoided just a little bit of the question about why a couple of starters are out tonight. As you have a look at Larry Fedora, in his third season as the head coach at Southern Mississippi, he has invigorated this Golden Eagle offense, set a school record in 2008 with over 5,600 yards, but Southern Mississippi will be kicking it away. They won the toss and deferred. The Gamecocks will be back to receive in front of a raucous crowd. The 2010 season. That is Bryce Sherman returning it for South Carolina. The Gamecocks will put it in play at their own 24-yard line. Marcall Robinson on the stop for the Golden Eagles. Here is Stephen Garcia, the junior out of Lutz, Florida. He is the SEC's active leader in total yards and passing yards. However, challenged in the offseason, criticized by Steve Spurrier, and hoping that he can answer the challenge and stay on the field most of the night. Garcia held off Connor Shaw, and the freshman Marcus Lattimore is on the field for his first snap, and he is split to the left. Ryan Maddox, the first carry of the season, and he is snowed under immediately. Big John Henderson, the first to hit it.
You know, for us watching this ball game tonight, South Carolina's offensive line, third year in a row with a different offensive line coach. You know, I know it's the SEC, Jesse, but they've got to play well up there if they want to be SEC high.
They've had a lot of inconsistency now in the last 3 years in terms of different guys playing up front. You mentioned the coaching changes. They have to get the running game going this season if they're going to have any success on offense.
2nd and 12. Garcia's first pass is complete, and Torrey Gurley's being thrown in reverse. C.J. Bailey sticking it.
We talked to Southern Miss head coach Larry Fedora earlier in the week, and we asked him what the strength of his team was going to be this year. He's known for being an offensive mind, but he didn't hesitate for a second, Craig, when he told us defense will be our strong suit.
And I thought Fedora's attitude of attack, you see it in his football team, the way they play. They've come into an SEC home field, and they're saying, we're coming after you.
2 plays, -3 yards for the Spurrier offense. Now looking at 3rd and 13. Garcia was looking for Alshon Jeffrey, the sophomore from St. Matthews, South Carolina. So it'll be 3 and out in the opening possession of the season for Carolina.
So what a theme we just saw there, Craig, on that opening drive from Southern Miss's defense. They're going to bring a lot of pressure and try to force Stephen Garcia into making some bad decisions in this football game.
Spencer Lanning will punt it away to Tracy Lampley. And if you haven't seen Lampley, one of 5 players in the country to take both a punt and a kickoff back for a touchdown last year. 6th in the nation in punt returns, averaging over 14 yards per. Lampley with an alley. It closed just short of the 40-yard line, and Southern Mississippi will take over on the 38. Triglia, the tight end, with the big hit, the stick on special teams. Returning the quarterback for Southern Mississippi is Austin Davis. He's a 6'2", 200-pound junior from Meridian. Missed the last 8 games last season after tearing ligaments in his foot. And he had a sensational freshman campaign. He has 33 career touchdown passes. Had he played enough games, he would have been in the top 10 in the country in passing efficiency. He is a guy Fedora trusts. First carry of the game goes to the senior B.J. Floyd. Floyd gets it to about the 44-yard line, and tempo is something, Craig, we're going to see tonight from Southern Mississippi.
It is going to be a fast-paced NASCAR type of offense. They're going to get to the line of scrimmage and try to wear out the South Carolina defense.
Davis, quick pass, Quentin Pierce with the grab. Enough for the first down. Stephon Gilmore with the stop. Here's the question for Southern Mississippi, Jesse. 4 of these guys on the offensive line making their first college start tonight.
And offensive coordinator Blake Anderson is worried about that, so he's going to use scheme and tempo to try to help those guys out.
Quick pass, a lot of room for Pierce. Inside the 40, another first down for Southern Mississippi. Tony Straughter making the stop for Ellis Johnson's troops. And they're coming out with the quick tempo. Davis in a rhythm and not showing the least bit of intimidation in the early going.
Which is why that play was so open. South Carolina defense still making adjustments during the snap.
Flag down. Floyd has room. He's knocked out of bounds, but there's a flag sitting at the 43-yard line. An SEC officiating crew tonight led by Tom Ritter. And Southern Mississippi will back it up 5. So Fedora's team off to a quick start. They've had a couple of confidence-building type of plays. Davis has been able to complete some short passes and get into a groove.
You know, an offensive coordinator, Blake Anderson, is fearful of this front 4 from South Carolina. He's going to use a fast tempo. He's going to move the pocket, throw screen passes, chip with the running backs to keep that pressure off his quarterback.
A 1st and 15 now facing Austin Davis. Plenty of time on the play clock. Davis slides inside the 40. Linesman will mark him down at the 38. Davis, not necessarily a great runner, but he does have a 70-yard run in his career at Southern Mississippi.
Yeah, he does. I want to stay with the theme of the tempo of this offense for a moment. It's nice to be fast as long as you don't make mistakes, right? So don't be too cute and confuse yourself.
Lampley, his first catch, still on his feet, but he'll be stopped after a short gain. And Southern Mississippi is looking at 3rd and 10. DeMario Jeffrey, who's in for the ailing Antonio Allen, who had a hamstring injury, making the stop along with Akeem Augustus.
And on the flip side of that, Craig, it'll be very interesting to see the conditioning of South Carolina's defense. If they can't substitute and we get late in the game, how fresh are these guys to go out and compete?
complete. A dart that will be enough for the first down. They'll mark it at the 24. Kelvin Bolden with the grab.
Really like the way Davis steps up, the way the pocket's created. Now remember, 4 new offensive linemen at Southern Miss. I'd say doing pretty good so far.
Austin Davis told us he wasn't concerned about the offensive line. He had a lot of confidence in them. Davis is going to keep it. It's down close to the 20.
Coaching staff told us that Austin Davis is the most prepared quarterback they've ever coached. And Craig, guys, we're watching him right now. He's throwing the football decisively. He's got a lot of conviction. It really shows up. He's watched the tape. He knows where he's going in his decisions.
His backup, Martavius Young, last year came in and had a heck of a season. So for Davis to come back and beat him out, he must be special.
Well, I asked Larry Fedora about that, and he said decision-making, as you guys were talking about, the things that separated Davis from Young. Davis throwing, and his first pass might have been picked off, and it is. The deflection and the interception by Devontae Holloman, and that has been a sore subject for the Gamecocks. Last year, 17 dropped interceptions. They only had 6 all year. It was 111th in the country, and they get one early here.
And we had a chance to walk through their meeting rooms this week during prepping, and there's a number that they want to get to in turnovers this year, and it's a big number. And for them to get there, they have to get tip balls.
They're looking for 16 interceptions this season, which is 10 more than what they got the season before. Devontae Holloman doing a nice job getting low, cradling the football inside his own red zone.
And a fine play by Akeem Auguste to set it up. So South Carolina snuffs out the drive by Southern Miss. Football available on TV, online, and on your phone. Go to ESPN.com for plenty of information. Marcus Lattimore in the backfield. Stephen Garcia, and flags fly immediately.
First down.
Kevius Watkins, the man called for the false start.
You know, a lot of people looking forward to Monday night about number 3 Boise State going to number 10 Va-Tech. You want to talk about another team, a non-automatic qualifier that has a chance to make a huge statement and a huge push for a national title run. What number 6 TCU playing in their backyard?
Pretty important weekend for the BCS busting type teams with Boise State game and TCU, and flags fly again. And South Carolina is discombobulated in the early going. First drive was a 3-and-out, -3 yards.
Flag from the snap. False start.
Now you have consecutive
66.
false start penalties
Offense,
on the
5-yard
offensive
penalty.
line.
Still first down.
And again, I said earlier in this game here, this offensive line has to step up to play. Hey, Jesse, you told the quarterbacks, and you tried to stress to them, you talked to this team this week, and you said, guys, I had a lot better offensive line than you guys have when I was at Florida.
There's no question about it. But right now, Craig, it's about composure. First game, you know, they're excited, but you got to stay in there. You can't shoot yourself in the foot like this.
Talked to Stephen Garcia about staying out of 2nd and 18. 1st and 20 is not so great either. Lattimore, that is a moment that South Carolina fans have been pining for 2 years. Sensational freshman from Duncan, South Carolina, rated by ESPN.com as the 2nd best back in America coming out of high school last year, has his first collegiate carry.
Watching him in practice and in the scrimmages, the thing that he does is he has power in his legs and he explodes to the next step. And he's bringing it every step down the field.
And he's versatile. He can do everything. He can block, and he's really good for a big back of catching the ball out of the backfield.
Here's Garcia using the dart, and it's grabbed by Alshon Jeffrey, and South Carolina to have its initial first down of the season.
Alshon Jeffrey was a freshman All-American last year, and you see him right here running the comeback route. Nice job pushing up on the cornerback. He's going to be the go-to guy in the South Carolina offense in the passing game this season.
So first down. Now the Gamecocks, as many teams do these days, take a look and check the sideline to adjust the play. Garcia pulls it down, and Stephen will get a couple. You know, one of the problems last year for Garcia was taking sacks.
Well, and, you know, Jesse, you were telling him, I stood in on the conversation for a long conversation. You told him, you know, don't make a mistake, but you didn't tell him to run around, did you?
Well, what I told him was you can't sit back there the entire night trying to find a guy open. If you're not going to throw it away or check it down, at least get forward. As a play caller, you much rather 2nd and 8 than 2nd and 18. So I commend him at least that time for at least trying to get positive yardage.
It's not really in Garcia's nature. It's something that he's had to learn. He's got a little of that Favre streak. Doesn't like to give up on the play. Ball, his arm was hit. And the flag flies. There was some contact down, but I'm not so sure they're not going to pick this one up because the ball or the arm was hit. Tom Ritter and his crew will come over and discuss it.
See, early so far, South Carolina trying to force feed their 6'4" receiver, Alshon Jeffrey, down the field. Take advantage of that height advantage in the secondary.
Prior to the pass, holding, number 2, defense, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Well, that changes things altogether. Had it been an interference type call rather than holding, perhaps it would have stood, but the hold coming prior to the pass against C.J. Bailey, who's the leader of that Southern Mississippi secondary. He too coming off an injury at the end of last season. Fedora believing that the defense can be the strength of the team, which is a bit surprising given the way the Golden Eagles finished a year ago, giving up nearly 560 yards passing in the game against Houston, and then in the bowl game, the New Orleans Bowl, allowing Middle Tennessee's Dwight Dasher, who set a record for rushing by a quarterback in a bowl with just over 200 yards. They've been solid so far tonight. Blitz coming, a lot of open room, complete, and a first down. The grab by Jason Barnes, and he gets into Southern Miss territory. So South Carolina on the move, picking up 16. Let's check in with John Saunders.
Maurice, a lot of people like Ohio State to make a run for the national championship, opening against Marshall. Terrell Pryor, one big reason why. 6 yards to DeVere Posey, 7-0. Brandon Sane also added a touchdown to make it 14-zip. Over on ESPNU, Minnesota has a lead over Middle Tennessee.
All right, John, a tough way to start the Doc Holliday era at Marshall by rolling into the chute, taking on the Buckeyes. Lattimore, a short gain. It'll bring up second and 9.
You got to do what you got to do, though, right? Sometimes there's a revenue source coming your way.
Did they bring the check? Take your check, take your whipping, get ready for the rest of the season. Garcia quickly to Torrey Gurley. Gurley, another of the tall receivers that South Carolina has. He gets inside the 40. He'll be a couple yards short of the first down.
What I've noticed here, a trend here, Southern Miss's defense, the front 7, they're trying to mix it up a lot, and the secondary doesn't seem like they're in rhythm. They had an open, blown assignment on the previous pass play. Jesse, they're not seeing it in the secondary.
And I think on the flip side, South Carolina has gone to the quick passing game. Try to get the playmakers the ball in space.
Lattimore inside the 35. There is a flag in the secondary. A couple of them, in fact. Sort of Lattimore showing that power. Spurrier talking about what a good job he does of running behind his pads. Low center of gravity. The body is very mature. Running behind Patrick DeMarco, and depending on the call, he'll go against Southern Mississippi, perhaps a substitution infraction.
We've seen now already 5 penalties in this game. Undisciplined play from both sides of the football. And I think at times you expect that in week 1.
Got a substitution violation on the defense. The 12th player did not get off the field. That penalty's declined. First down.
Well, the one thing that I like about Lattimore is that when he's bringing it, better not bring that. You get a little flag on you there. It's a youthful excitement. But when he hit the linebacker, he exploded into him and carried him another 3 yards.
That was Jamie Collins. He got in the dust up with one of the best athletes on this team. Jeffrey catches the quick toss, and Jeffrey is inside the 25, close to another first down. Alex Smith stops him. I think they've got another first down. Torrey Gurley doing a good job on the edge blocking for his buddy.
Southern Miss defensively is very worried about the size advantage of these South Carolina receivers. They have 5 different receivers that are 6'3" or bigger. And you can see the physicality running with the football. Craig, these guys are hard to bring down.
They're very tall, athletic, skilled. I'm also noticing here the decision-making of Garcia. And this is why he's starting and not Connor Shaw, the true freshman.
Garcia has hit 5 of his first 6. Gamecocks on the move. And now more flags flying. And you'll see things like this on opening night. You don't get the preseason games or scrimmages even that you get in high school sometimes to iron out some of these kinks.
Dead ball, snap infraction, number 55, offense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
It's on the center, T.J. Johnson.
You don't expect that from T.J. Johnson. He's the only guy last year that started all 13 games. Granted, he did it at right guard, but he's one of these leaders that's supposed to understand the mechanics.
Yeah, but Jeriel King's gone, right? Left tackle. Been there forever, so you mix up the dominoes, and all of a sudden it's a little different feel.
John Henderson jumped into the neutral zone for Southern Mississippi. Not really sure how quickly Chisholm reacted, but he realized that if he stood up, perhaps he'd get the call against Southern Mississippi and get those 5 yards back.
Dead ball, offside, number 48 defense, was in the neutral zone, causing a false start, 5-yard penalty, first down.
I'm just saying I didn't think it really bothered him that much. He saw him in there and thought he'd stand up. As you have a look at Jarrell King, King's career here at South Carolina has been a little bit star-crossed. He's sitting out. We still efforting the exact reason for his suspension, but he was one of the players involved in the Whitney Hotel issue. It is a hotel here in Columbia where several of the players were living, according to reports, at less than the going rate. Garcia overshoots Alshon Jeffrey. And it has been something that South Carolina has had to deal with throughout this fall camp, wondering how many of the guys would be available, whether the NCAA would hand down suspensions. And Steve Spurrier didn't answer the question directly. He basically just said through camp they were available and they were here, he would play them. But King obviously not in pads tonight.
But you know what? At least they've had weeks to talk about it and to prepare. This team wasn't fooled. They also had the benefit of North Carolina stealing the headlines. BYU stealing the headlines. The focus has been off of South Carolina stuff.
Garcia, a little running room. Garcia first down. Garcia inside the 5. Touchdown, South Carolina. I know he can be maddening, but that's something Garcia can do that can bring a different dimension to your offense. What a physical run at the end by the quarterback. And South Carolina, after a sluggish opening possession, answered the bell beautifully, overcame a couple of false start penalties, and there was no false stop, and Stephen Garcia bowling for Golden Eagles for the score. Play 85-yard drive, the food probably digesting a little better for the South Carolina faithful. Maybe not so much for Southern Mississippi. Stephen Garcia hit 4 of his 5 passes for 50 yards, 2 carries for 24 yards, including the 22-yard touchdown run. Maybe it's just me, but it looks like he's playing as if a quarterback who really doesn't care about sharing time.
Well, I know this. He said around the bowl game, he said he weighed about 240. He said he dropped down to 228, right? I think he brought all 228 plus on that run.
Joey Scribner kicking off. Tracy Lampley for Southern Mississippi. Lampley will be stopped just across the 25. Let's check in with John Saunders. John?
Reese, is this Miami's year in the ACC, and Ja'Cory Harris perhaps the Heisman Trophy? Harris 40 yards to Leonard Hankerson. He also had one of 20 yards. Miami leading Florida A&M 14-0.
All right, John, probably a little bit less of a tester in the opener for Miami this year as opposed to when they played the Seminoles in that thriller on Labor Day night a year ago. High hopes for the Hurricanes. Many believe they could win the ACC. Corey Harris off to a good start. Southern Mississippi hoping to answer the drive. Desmond Johnson catching it out of the backfield, and he's in reverse. A host of Gamecocks there led by Akeem Auguste.
Man, did he bring it from center field, Jesse, or what? Auguste's back there. He reads it, sees it, attack.
This South Carolina defense is fast. Plays cannot be slow developing like that if you want to have success against this type of SEC defense.
Golden Eagles lost 6. And even with a couple of starters out, second and long, no place to be against an Ellis Johnson defense. Unless you get a man wide open down the middle, Davis to Jodrick Morris. Morris deep into Gamecock territory, and Morris is the receiver who had the ball bounce away from him on the interception, and boy, does he make up for it. Throwing double nickels 55 yards.
And look how fast Southern Miss is back up to the ball to get a play called, not allow South Carolina to substitute.
Austin Davis getting the adjustments from the side from Larry Fedora. Fedora, formerly the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma State, worked with Des Bryant. The give is to Johnson, and he'll pick up a couple. Let's take a look at that previous play, the long pass from Davis to Morris.
Yeah, obviously, you've got 11 that have squatted inside 15 yards. You see there's this big area of South Carolina players, and so that's a blown coverage just about the time that we're really hyping this Ellis Johnson defense. They forget what to do.
Second down and 9, just about the spot on the field where Davis had the ricochet pass and a rare interception on Southern Mississippi's first drive. Option. Johnson. Devontae Holloman, who had the pick to stop the first threat from the Golden Eagles, makes the tackle.
Southern Miss feels that South Carolina does not see offenses like theirs very often. They feel the SEC is a huddle-up offensive conference. In the Conference USA, it's up-tempo, it's speed option, screen games. That's where they feel they have an advantage offensively in this game.
Third down, here comes the crowd. Davis, complete. First down just outside the 10. Williams Spite. Spite is in the game mostly for his perimeter blocking. He did not have a reception last year and only a pair of them in 2008, but he makes a clutch one to convert a third down here.
Well-coached receivers, understanding by Davis what the down and distance was, going to that marker, getting the first down.
Johnson inside the 10. Rodney Polk coming back from injury, making the tackle, losing his hat.
And we've seen a lot of Southern Miss receivers running wide open so far. We talk about the genius of Steve Spurrier on offense. Larry Fedora, no slouch. You mentioned his offensive coordinator days at Oklahoma State. He was the offensive coordinator at Florida the year after Spurrier left. This guy knows how to call some ball plays himself.
As Spurrier said in the meeting this week, you know who called the first ball play after I left Florida? We knew the answer. I think that surprised Steve. That play did not surprise the South Carolina defense. Deion Hodges, who also didn't have a catch last year, from back-to-back plays. New guys with catches, or 2 of 3 plays, I should say.
And this is that area, though, that when you want to get big and you've been dancing a lot on the outside, it's hard to set those pads and become a running team all of a sudden.
You know, Blake Anderson told us they had a lot of trouble in this area last year, and they did not plan to try to change their identity. They were going to spread it out, pitch it around, and see if they could score that way. Looking at 3rd and 7 right now. Snaps on the ground. Davis recovers it. It'll be 4th down.
Twice now we've seen South Carolina defensively bend but not break. They've allowed Southern Miss to drive into their red zone, but both times they've been able to bow up. They've got the turnover, and now they're going to force a field goal attempt.
At some point, though, they've got to stop that bowing, because they're going to be a big play like they had. 83 catching the ball, running down the middle of the field. You know, they're going to have to recognize, get a little closer.
This is Danny Ratman, and there are no chip shots for Southern Mississippi. Had real problems with place kicking a year ago. Ratman from 33, and the Golden Eagles are on the board. So Southern Mississippi salvages a field goal after the big play gets the offense rolling. Late in the first quarter, Gamecocks by 4. Opening Thursday night of the season, Columbia, South Carolina. Reese Davis, Craig James, Jesse Palmer, and Jen Brown with you. Southern Mississippi just answered the South Carolina touchdown with a 9-play, 59-yard field goal drive. 55 of those picked up on the long pass from Austin Davis and Jodrick Morris. And now for tonight's weekend menu, brought to you by Applebee's. And what a great opening weekend of football. UConn generating some momentum as perhaps a team that could contend in the Big East going into the Big House.
Rich Rodriguez, 8-16 his first 2 years, accused of 5 major rule violations by the NCAA. A lot of people feel like he's got to win and win big to keep his job. Well, guess what? He gets a 5-loss team in UConn that lost those games by a combined of 15 points.
The perception is that UConn is UConn Big East. Everybody might think that except for Michigan and Rich Rodriguez. It's the worst opponent that he could start the season with.
Well, I tell you, in the other games that we saw there, Oregon State and TCU, we talked about a little earlier. What's left of North Carolina, apparently, reports they may be without 16 guys when they take on LSU, and then Boise State and Virginia Tech Labor Day night. Bryce Sherman returning the kickoff. Sherman, about 5'4", scoots out to about the 25. Let's check in with John Saunders.
Well, Reese, Marshall trying to stay with Ohio State, as you mentioned earlier, and here's a way to do it. Johnny Jones blocks this field goal attempt. Ahmad Shakur picks it up and has nothing but daylight. 49 yards for the touchdown to get Marshall on the board, but they trail 20-7. Reese.
All right, John, so at least a moment for the Thundering Herd. A few years ago, Marshall went into the horseshoe and very nearly knocked off Ohio State. Late field goal try, had an opportunity to win it. Tonight, the Buckeyes showing some serious offense, apparently. Sounds as if they just put another one on the board. Stephen Garcia, after a terrific drive, back in. The freshman Lattimore with the carry. Lattimore picking up about 5.
3 on his own. And that's how you pick up your offensive line. Running behind your pads, a very strong runner, humble guy, a lot of expectations. Looks like he can deliver.
Garcia looking for the adjustments as we wind inside a minute to go in the first quarter. South Carolina with an excellent drive the last time they had the ball. Might as well stick with the freshman. Look at the strength. Corey Williams, leader of the linebacker corps, making the stop.
You see what they're doing, Jesse? They're lulling them inside. What opened up Southern Miss's defense was the outside passing game to the tall receivers.
And it's interesting watching Southern Miss. They've called the dogs off, so to speak. They started this game with a lot of pressure trying to get after Stephen Garcia. After that long touchdown run, they're thinking twice about that now.
3rd down. Game clock now at 7 seconds. Garcia realizes it. Going to get the play off before the quarter ends. I don't think he did. More flags are flying. Game clock says 0. Tom Ritter, you can read his lips saying that the time expired in the quarter. The quarter ran out, he said.
There is no foul on the play. The quarter is over.
Probably not a bad thing. Talk about the 3rd down call to open the second quarter when you come back to Columbia.
Let's go, let's go. Get up, sing it like you're screaming at me. Get up, I love the way you make it look so easy. East Coast, West Coast, show me what you got now.
The Nature Boy, Ric Flair, the greatest professional wrestler ever and longtime friend of Steve Spurrier's, in the house here. And also, Craig, he is dispelling the notion that our Don Draper friend lookalike over here is the only guy in this stadium styling and profiling. There you go. You like the Mad Men look that
He does. He's the madman. Only thing missing is his, what is this, big gun walking around the stadium.
Give me, oh, there you go.
Oh, Ric Flair for a Nature Boy.
It's a good thing there was no feathered boa involved with his appearance. Third down and 5. First play of the second quarter. Garcia is going to get the first down on the completion to Alshon Jeffrey, and the Gamecocks convert.
One of the strengths they thought at Southern Miss was their defense, and they were hoping the experience from last year playing a lot as young men would help them on third down, Jesse. 42% of the time last year, their opponents converted.
On the flip side, South Carolina running the football well on first and second down, keeping these third down opportunities manageable. They could not do that last year.
Garcia to throw, rifles it in. Jeffrey's got it again. He bobbled it, secured it, and very close to another first down.
It is such an advantage for a quarterback when you have big, tall receivers. They're easier to see, and look how physical they can be off the line of scrimmage to create separation.
And you know, at some point, Southern Miss, they're going to have to come up and challenge that. They're going to have to disrupt the route running of the big receiver and take a little chance. Otherwise, Stephen Garcia pitch and catch.
Golden Eagles last year, a couple of problems that you guys have mentioned. They were 109th in the country in pass defense. They were 89th in third down conversions. And talking to Todd Bradford, their defensive coordinator, worked very hard. They had a period in every practice of fall camp just on third down, trying to get off the field on third down, something they did not do well last year.
I think that's football, Reese. You either convert third downs or you stop it. You got to have playmakers one side of the ball.
Alshon Jeffrey has 4 catches, 47 yards. All of them have resulted in a South Carolina first down. Gamecocks on the move again in Southern Mississippi territory. Here comes the heat. Garcia got rid of it to Lattimore. The freshman. First down, South Carolina. Anthony Gray made the stop.
Yeah, you're going to see some movement in here, and they're trying to disrupt and confuse that South Carolina offensive line. They do a nice job of just holding them out.
How nice is it as a quarterback to have a 230-pound back that can catch the football and pluck it out of the air like that? You want to talk about being all-rounded. Wow.
Here he comes again. I tell you, this freshman, he is a load when he takes it inside.
He came in here with a lot of hype. He's probably the biggest recruit that Steve Spurrier has been able to get into school in the 5 years that he's been here so far. But Greg, you mentioned it, he's humble and he's hungry. So, and he's everyone respects him here on campus.
He's just quiet and does his job. Now imagine you've got a great high school recruited running back to go along with Connor Shaw, big time promise for quarterback. That's why the expectations and the promise is so good here.
Garcia got a man. Jeffrey's out there, and Alshon couldn't quite bring it down. Marcall Robinson on the coverage.
Steve Spurrier is yelling on the sidelines. He wants his quarterback to throw this football out in front a little bit more. Look at all the real estate for him to put this football. Instead, Alshon Jeffrey has to bend back, try to make a catch.
I like Robinson, though. He's 6 feet, so he's undersized against his receiver, but he fought hard to get the arms down and did what he could to wrestle the receiver without the ball in his hands.
So now the Gamecocks looking at 3rd and 7.
All right, so here's that deal, right? 42% conversions last year. Let's see, third down, big down.
And there's going to be a flag surely there. Jersey was flying, and now Darren Wilson, the freshman from New Orleans, is clapping. I think he is unaware that a piece of laundry dropped behind him.
But again, guys, it's another example of these big physical receivers, and the smaller corners cannot stay with them physically.
Second defensive holding call on the Southern Mississippi defensive backs tonight.
And you know, it's when it's 8 yards to go for the first down, the drive, the little push off, I'm not sure that it's not a little mutual contact going on there.
The pass we saw earlier, Jeffrey catch close to midfield. He gained some separation with a great big shove, just as he did that time. Wilson was trying to offset that, but the freshman just doesn't have the size and strength to do so yet. This freshman has plenty of size, plenty of strength, and he's into the red zone for South Carolina.
Craig, you were a great running back. When you're watching Marcus Lattimore, when you're watching his feet, what do you see?
Well, let's correct you first. I wasn't great, but I was a running back. The one thing I see with his feet is that his eyes and his feet are together, and they're seeing the lane. They're going together where it is, and it's always downfield, upfield.
Garcia again, and boy, Torrey Gurley got smoked across the middle. Ronnie Thornton was applying the pressure, and it was Martez Smith. He is a high motor guy for this defense. They told us you see a big hit, it's probably him.
Yeah, this is a medicine ball. Look out. You never threw those, Jesse. You always took care of your receivers.
Absolutely not, Craig.
You guys are making me uncomfortable with this mutual admiration society. You were a great back. No, you never threw a ball like that.
Love each other up in there.
It's early.
Wait till week 9.
Down at 4. South Carolina trying to convert. Come and search maps.
There are people out there who think UConn can make a run for the Big East championship.
Very well coached team. 10th play of the drive. South Carolina trying to convert the 3rd down and more, and a lot of contact between Jeffrey, defensive back Marquise Wheaton. No flags fly. It'll bring up 4th down.
So here's how you help your secondary. You've got to change things up with your defensive line. And we've seen that now. The stunts up front, right, Reese? They're crossing, moving, disrupt the flow and the arm of Garcia.
An example of that added depth that Larry Fedora now feels he has on defense. When his starters come out, the backups can come in, and the level of play doesn't drop too severely.
Spencer Lanning will try to push the South Carolina lead back to a touchdown. This from 36 yards out. He was perfect from that distance a year ago, and he starts 2010 the exact same way. So Lanning finishes off the South Carolina drive. The Gamecocks up by 7. Struggled to lift its entire program to the national elite. One of the great players in the history of the game played in the Garnet and Black. George Rogers, a 1980 Heisman Trophy winner, over 5,000 yards rushing. And there is hope here in Columbia that perhaps Marcus Lattimore can at least approach that type of career before he's done in Columbia. The early returns in his first game as a freshman have been most positive in our eyes. South Carolina up 10-3. Joey Scribner about to kick it away. He drives Tracy Lampley into the end zone, and the dangerous return man won't have a shot this time. Golden Eagles get it on the 20. Here's tonight's Aflac trivia question. What South Carolina... I should have let the duck go with the Aflac.
Get his words out.
Yeah, it's true. What South Carolina alumnus caught 41 of Brett Favre's 497 career touchdown passes in the NFL? Think about that for a while. Fine receivers have played for the Gamecocks historically. See if you know the answer.
His brother is also in the National Football League Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Just saying.
Too much.
Just helping people out.
I was just about to say we got the answer right this morning, so don't give it away. Pretty good hint, though. As Southern Mississippi takes over. Davis going up top and going for a big shot down the sidelines. Stephon Gilmore against DeAndre Brown. That is a matchup that we've really been waiting to see. Great cornerback and a big-time receiver.
But you know what? Brown's not the receiver on this play. It's going across the middle. Had a tight end wide open, and you try to push it down there. Now, number 5 for the Black and Garnet, they think he's a pretty good player too, right?
Absolutely.
Gilmore said he liked going against big receivers. DeAndre Brown, 6'6", weighs nearly 240 pounds. Lampley gets it out of the backfield, and he gets absolutely nothing. Demario Jeffrey, the first to sniff that one out.
You know what? This is just speed to the ball, right? Getting out, run. You got to block. You got to stay on it. It's the job of a receiver to take care of his partner out there. You got to work hard at it.
Jodrick Morris was the guy who couldn't keep Jeffrey off of Lampley. Now it's 3rd and 9. Crowd starting to get into it defensively. Davis, no room to get it into Pierce, and it'll be 3 and out for the Golden Eagles.
This has been a consistent theme here in South Carolina now the last 2 seasons. This has been a top 10 pass defense over the last 2 years, and you can see why. Ellis Johnson coaches this bunch to cover up space.
See space too, understand space. You know, you get these quarterbacks who try to throw a receiver open. Well, defenders sometimes know where that opening's supposed to be too, don't they? And they cover it up.
There's a lot of route recognition. There's no question about it.
Peter Boehm deep to punt it away for Southern Mississippi, and the aforementioned Mr. Gilmore will return it. Gilmore clearing everybody out. Boehm will get a pretty good roll. Here to punt to begin with. Not sure it ever got 7 feet off the ground. But it turned out to be relatively effective. South Carolina will have it back, up by a touchdown in the second. Cock, the live one. Big Spur, Sir Big Spur on the roost, and enjoying what he's seen so far, and perhaps happy that his team has its best starting field position of the night. Gamecocks will open this drive on the 38. Hadn't opened anything outside the 26 previously. Reverse. There's the little guy, Ace Sanders. He's got wheels. Sanders all the way to the 10-yard line, and the Gamecocks on the move. Explosive play by Sanders, the freshman from Bradenton, Florida. 52 yards.
All right, so this South Carolina offense has been spreading the field, right? When Sanders gets the pitch, watch where the defense is. All eyes, everybody's here. No way they can catch Sanders.
Steve Spurrier told us that Ace Sanders reminds him of the receivers he used to have at Florida. Guys that could get in and out of breaks, were quick, low center of gravity. Wow.
Now they'll fake it. Miles, his first carry of the night. Kenny Miles, a sophomore from Lawrenceville, Georgia. The leading returning pressure on this team. And Sanders, as you mentioned, a perfect complement to the big, long receivers that South Carolina has in abundance.
And you know what? When you've got that kind of ability to spread people out, you've got power in the running game now, right? You've got Lattimore, you've got Miles, you've got players who can do their thing. It looks, Jesse, kind of like this offense is spreading it out, working it.
They have different pieces of the puzzle now where they can get the football to make positive things happen. It's not just one guy.
Marcus Lattimore, for the first time as a Gamecock, and it won't be the last. Touchdown, Lattimore. Marcus Lattimore scored 104 touchdowns in his high school career.
He's obviously pretty used to it. You see how calm he was? His first collegiate touchdown, he just calmly hands the ball to the referee, thank you, and jogs to the side.
Well, the present is something South Carolina is looking for. The future looks bright, not only with Lattimore, but the freshman Sanders, who provided 52 yards on the reverse. Lanning knocks it through as flags fly at the end, and got a little ruckus down on the field. Headgear missing from the Gamecocks. They're getting together. Justice Cunningham was the one, I believe, who lost his hat. The officials are sorting it out.
A lot of tempers flaring early here. 17-3. You kind of expect that. There's been so much anticipation for both of these teams. We talked about it earlier, guys. They've been talking about this game since being embarrassed in their respective bowl games last year. You can see the tempers flaring.
After the play, we had offsetting personal fouls. Personal foul, 87. Offense, personal foul, 32. Defense, those penalties offset, free kick.
Nobody's going to be chased. I mentioned Cunningham. He was one involved, number 32 for Southern Mississippi's Martez Smith.
All right, you heard Jesse mention the calm after the touchdown. I want you to watch the calm during the run to get there, how patient he was. But during that patience, his eyes are working and his body's going downhill, right? He's looking, he's patient, gets inside the guard's block, knows exactly where that line is.
I asked Marcus Lattimore earlier in the week what his emotions would be tonight. And he said, you know, I've been coming to games here for the last 2 years. The biggest crowd I've ever played in front of was 25,000 people in high school. He said, I don't know what I'm going to feel out in front of 80,000. I'm just going to go and play ball the way I always have. And he's doing that right now.
You know, Marcus told me that when it came time to make his decision where he was going to college, Stephen Davis, a former Auburn great, went to his school and agreed to bring him hats. Stephen was partial to the orange one, but Marcus said, you know, I really like the fact that I can get home quickly. For the second straight year, Spurrier has taken advantage of the upgraded facilities here. They've signed Mr. Football in the state of South Carolina, first Stephon Gilmore and now Marcus Lattimore, but they have to follow it up with big production on the field.
I think people have always said that South Carolina running backs over the last couple of years have been reliable. I think they feel like Marcus Lattimore has the chance to be great.
They were last, in the SEC in rushing the last 3 seasons, so it'd be nice to get someone who can put it down the field.
Helped balance the offense the entire drive, was rushing last time. Tracy Lampley barely across the 20. Let's check in with more on Marcus Lattimore from Ken Brown down on the sideline.
Thanks, guys. You talked about Lattimore's strength, and I had a chance to talk to Craig Fitzgerald, the head strength and conditioning coach, about how he did coming in and testing. And he was in the top 3 in all categories, but what was most impressive was the numbers he put up in the NFL shuttle run. He had combine numbers below a 4.2, which is obviously very excellent.
It sure is, Jen. I'm telling you, when you get into 4-1 range, that's starting and stopping. That's football. That's speed. That's how you play the game.
Lattimore ranked, as you saw, the number 2 back coming out of high school. Incomplete pass from Davis. The number 1 back, according to the ESPNU.com rankings, Michael Dyer, who did go to Auburn. We'll see him next week when Auburn takes on Mississippi State. He's much better than this guy. It's going to be something to see because Lattimore's been terrific. 2nd and 10 after the incomplete pass. You get the feeling that Southern Mississippi really needs to get something going on this drive. Very easily get away from them. South Carolina offense playing with a great deal of confidence. The ball is batted and maybe still free. Could be a backward pass. And a team that did a great job taking care of the ball last year. Devin Taylor of South Carolina got a hand on it. Recovered it. Now we'll see if it stands up.
Incomplete.
They're calling it a forward pass, and that is a huge break for Southern Mississippi. The wheels might have come off with that one. What do you think, guys?
That was Eric Norwood-esque, the old great player here at South Carolina. That ball looks like it's going backwards a little bit.
It's really hard to tell. Devin Taylor, this will be a great angle right here. The trajectory, that looks flat.
It was flat. I agree with you.
That looks flat. I think it's a great call by the officials.
I'm with you.
Well, Taylor had a forced fumble and a blocked punt in the opener last year on Thursday night against North Carolina State and almost had a huge play here. Davis in a world of trouble, and he has to just get rid of it. Chaz Sutton knocks him down. There's a flag on the play. Not sure that Davis got outside that rectangular tackle box to avoid being called for grounding.
Not so sure this isn't roughing the passer.
One or the other.
Intentional grounding on the offense. Lost it down and spot and foul. 4th out.
Davis got smoked as he was just trying to get rid of and save a few yards. Great pressure coming from Sutton.
He doesn't get outside the tackle box. You're not allowed to just throw the football away into open space. It's a good call by the officials. You're seeing the protection from Southern Miss now, Craig, start to break down a little bit.
They said they wanted to start fast early. Their first 3 series, 8 plays, 9 plays, then 3, again 3. They've lost the little edge that they started with.
And South Carolina is going to get the football back now in Southern Miss territory.
Gilmore chomping at the bit to return this punt. A low line drive again off the foot of Boehm, and Gilmore won't get a shot at it. But South Carolina indeed will start in Golden Eagle territory at the 48, and a chance to really put the Golden Eagles in dire straits. 17-3 in the second. Well, the Chick-fil-A kickoff game Saturday night on ABC is really important for both LSU and North Carolina. Tar Heels embroiled in controversy. Reports today saying as many as 16 guys can be forced to miss time. Carolina hoping they can turn those into some type of rolling suspensions. Meanwhile, the Mad Hatter and LSU trying to bounce back, move into contention in the SEC. Saturday night football presented by Southwest Airlines as part of Dick's Sporting Goods kickoff week on ABC Saturday at 8. And here's the freshman quarterback on the field, Connor Shaw, but they are in the Gilmore formation with Stephon Gilmore at quarterback. The defensive back who did this against Clemson completed a pass for 39 yards, ran for 20. We'll get a look at this for the first time tonight. Gilmore. He'll get inside the 35-yard line. One of the best defensive backs in the country pretty good at quarterback.
Well, you see why he's considered one of the most versatile athletes in all of college football. Just watch the hips and the wiggle here, Craig.
And then what I watched was number 14, Connor Shaw, on the outside downfield. 14, look at 14 blocking, freshman. That a way to stay in his face.
Shaw is the freshman quarterback who pushed Stephen Garcia throughout the spring and fall. Son of a high school coach from Flowery Branch, Georgia. He's yet to take a snap, but he's on the field. Gilmore again. Gonna throw it. Yeah. Stefan will throw it out of bounds. Cordero Law getting the pressure. We'll check in with Jen Brown.
I had a chance to talk to Stephon Gilmore's high school coach, Bobby Carroll, today and asked him if he could guess what position he would be able to play in college. He said that he would be able to play any position, maybe except offensive or defensive line. He said when the kid took the first snap in high school, he ran for 65 yards, and that's when he knew he was a very special player.
I thought it was incredible. Steve Spurrier told us that he thought he could have made Stephon Gilmore a great SEC quarterback.
Head ball coach saying that Gilmore believes his future's in the secondary. Garcia's back in at quarterback, and he fires a dart. Gurley with the catch.
What a difference, though, a year makes with this South Carolina offense. We did their opening game last season, and it was just like blah, blah, blah. You've got an offense now, Spurrier calling the plays. He told me in the spring, he said, Craig, I figured out one thing. I got to coach him hard and call the plays. That's when we're good. And I'm going to call plays and coach him up.
Ball start. Patrick DeMarco would be the equivalent of
Dead ball. Ball start. 47. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains third down.
Steve Spurrier told us he wanted to play the true freshman quarterback, Connor Shaw, early in this game. I think this was a great opportunity, leading 17-3. You start the drive in the other team's end, but you see Stephen Garcia still out there. That kind of goes to show you the confidence Spurrier has in his junior quarterback so far.
and perhaps hoping to build some confidence in Garcia, too. He's gotten off to a great start. He's been smart. You don't want to pull him out.
Yeah, good point, Reese.
Garcia complete. Again, Alshon Jeffrey. Alshon was running sideways. C.J. Bailey knocked him down. It appears from the spot that they're still giving him the first down, though Alshon was flirting with giving it back for a moment.
And you know what? Look at the step, the delivery. Garcia, I'm with you on that, Reese, and you are too, Jesse. I know as a player, you would appreciate that you're still out there.
His confidence is going through the roof right now. He's feeling it, and you can tell by the way he's playing. He's playing with conviction. He's got a plan to know where he's throwing the football. This might be the best football I've ever seen him play.
Now 12 of 16. Sanders has it. The explosive little speedster from Bradenton gets it inside the 10. A good block from Jason Barnes. First and goal for the Gamecocks.
So what's going to happen here is Spurrier's going to let Garcia continue to build confidence in himself, the team to build confidence in Garcia, dispel any thoughts that somebody else might become the quarterback. And then down the road in this game, let Connor Shaw go out there and get some snaps.
Guys, this offense is looking multiple. We've seen Stephen Garcia playing better. Alshon Jeffrey's a weapon. Ace Sanders is getting in the running game. The Gilmore formation. There's a lot of different ways this offense can hurt you, and they're showing it right now.
And how about that offensive line? You know, how about the offensive line? New coach Sean Elliott.
All right, how about that offensive line play for South Carolina? Up by 2 touchdowns, creating all kinds of opportunities for Marcus Lattimore in the running game and for Stephen Garcia and Alshon Jeffrey in the passing game.
Alshon Jeffrey has been able to show us his versatility. They've lined him up outside. They've lined him up inside. They've thrown him deep. They've thrown him short. His physical nature is demonstrating itself in this offense. And Craig, it's easy to see why he led the team in receiving last year as a true freshman.
Every catch tonight has resulted in a first down for the Gamecocks. They have first and goal now, trying to go up by 3 touchdowns. Garcia perhaps had a shot at Gurley. Didn't quite have enough time to get rid of it. Ronnie Thornton was applying the pressure.
But what I like seeing from a football standpoint, that I formation, Lattimore, you're going to be able to use that presence inside and threat of his running ability that gives you those big receivers outside by themselves with a smaller defensive back.
Guys, South Carolina has to capitalize here and make this 7 points. It could be a knockout shot.
Freshman Lattimore already with 1 touchdown tonight. Got it again. Marcus Lattimore, touchdown, South Carolina. Patrick DeMarco, tight end and the fullback, clearing the way for the freshman's 2nd scoring run tonight. And right now, the Golden Eagles, who started out on fire, are battered and bruised. Spencer Lanning on trying to make it a 21-point lead. And he does. South Carolina's offense doing a little bit of everything and doing it all well.
Man-to-man blocking base. DeMarco, the fullback, up in there. The cutback lane for Lattimore. That guy knows how to find the grass in the end zone.
After the South Carolina touchdown, Gamecocks kick it off. Jeremy Hester treated rather rudely as he crosses the 21-yard line. Quinn Smith making the stop.
Remember that first drive for South Carolina, guys? 3 plays, -3 yards and out? No, I don't remember it either. Because the Gamecocks now scored on 4 straight possessions.
And we talked about how much South Carolina struggled running the football last year. They already have more rushing yards in this half. We got a quarter to go here than they did all season last year, averaging yards per game.
So now Southern Mississippi desperately in need of a drive. E.J. Floyd, who had some solid runs in the early going, it's up across the 25. The answer to tonight's Aflac trivia question: what South Carolina alum received 41 of Brett Favre's 497 career touchdown passes? Owen Sharp. C.C. Whitlock applying the big hit on Ryan Ballantyne. We stopped just short of the first down. I think it's very important for Southern Mississippi to convert here.
Well, you know, we talked about opening the game. Tempo, 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 speed, speed. Southern Miss has to get to the line and use that and do their strategy.
Pierce with the catch. First down, Southern Mississippi across the 40.
You know, I was going to say, if you're Larry Fedora in Southern Mississippi right here, you're down 3 touchdowns. You're not hitting the panic button. We still got more than 6 minutes to go in the 2nd quarter. But the sense of urgency now has to go up through the roof because your defense cannot stop South Carolina offensively.
Was a familiar theme for the Golden Eagles last year. The defense was thin, in places very young, and struggled particularly late in the season. Davis wanting a little more, dumps it off to Ballantyne. Ballantyne close to midfield. He'll be about 3 yards or so short of the first down.
But you see the setup there by Davis. And I was about to say that this probably wouldn't be a bad spot for Martavius Young, the backup quarterback, to come in to give them a little momentum change. But Davis composed, not panicking.
Inside, give to Floyd, who's got the first down. No, Davis was not only not highly recruited, he was barely recruited at all. He ran the wing T offense, said he threw 6 to 8 times on a good night in high school, but he's got a good solid arm, good decision maker. Arrived at Southern Mississippi, he thought perhaps he'd be a baseball player, but said football was always the goal, and he's turned into a quarterback that with a couple of solid seasons will probably hold all of the passing records in Southern Mississippi history that currently belong to Brett Favre. E.J. Floyd bobbled it around for a while, corralled it, and got down to about the 42. It'll be 2nd and about 8.
And it's interesting with Austin Davis, he said he came here, Jeff Bauer was the head coach, he had to walk on. But when Larry Fedora instilled this spread attack offense, that gave Austin Davis his opportunity.
Another short completion. Kelvin Brown, 2nd catch of the night. Brown steps out of bounds. Got enough for the first down.
I like the execution on this series. Jondrick Davis that time, or Morris, outside blocking, opening up his receiver. No panic at all in this offense. Hey, 24-10, that's doable.
And the quick passing game is helping out this inexperienced offensive line.
There's that tired defense, Reese. Little timeout. Composure break.
South Carolina with a 24-3 lead. Opening weekend of the college football season. South Carolina certainly off to a stirring start. You see some of the storylines of this 2010 season. First, can Alabama repeat? John Saunders saying earlier, line defensive lineman Marcel Darius going to miss a couple of games. The suspension. Joe Paterno, 6 victories away from 400 for his career. Boise State starting very highly ranked. Opportunity against Virginia Tech. And certainly we have to replace some great stars in college football. Colt McCoy, Tim Tebow gone. Garrett Gilbert and John Brantley taking over. They certainly have big shoes to fill. And it always happens, but you've seen McCoy and Tebow around for so long. A lot of pressure on these guys stepping in to fill in.
You know what? Let's talk about Marcel Darius. Alabama, can they repeat? Alabama's known that this could potentially have occurred, right? We've seen them in the spring. Very deep, talented football team. Now it's up to Alabama and Saban to stay focused and go get the job done. Somebody else gets to step up and make a play.
I think there are more question marks heading into this season than there have been in years past. You look at the top 5, each of those teams, lots of question marks.
Davis underneath, good catch by Floyd. He'll be stopped for a short gain.
You go back to Alabama having to replace 9 guys on defense. You look at Ohio State. Can Terrell Pryor play like he did in last season's Rose Bowl week in, week out through a tough Big Ten schedule? We talked about Boise State. Florida replaces 11 starters, big names, 4 coaches, and Texas replaces big name starters.
Davis has Lampley, and Lampley has a first down. Last year, guys, was largely status quo. You start in middle of September and go all the way up to championship weekend. The same 3 teams were in the top 3 spots in the AP poll: Alabama, Texas, and Florida in some order. And I think you're right, Jesse. I think this is a year where you're going to see more of a revolving door in the polls, more upsets, more potholes along the way for teams. Floyd, it's an inside the 20.
Well, wherever it's going to come from, certainly the Southeastern Conference is where you're going to look for one of the participants traditionally in that national championship game. And you know what? Florida, everybody's really just kind of not talking about them. It is all Alabama, right?
Quietest preseason top 5 team you can remember. The Gators are not short on talent. I think there was just so much attention given to Tim Tebow and Brandon Spikes, people who had been stars for so long there. The Gators might have a rare opportunity to quietly slip up on somebody. It doesn't happen very often, and it won't happen long. They'll make plenty of noise early in the season.
But again, going back, I'm not so sure an SEC team comes out of the conference without getting nicked. And I could see a lot of different scenarios in any of those top 5 teams, or a lot of the teams in the top 10. It'll be very difficult for any of those guys to go through without at least losing 1 game.
And with the Big Ten being strong, they're going to have a great conference. It's going to be hard for Ohio State. They're not going to walk through. Wisconsin, Iowa, there's some really good teams up there.
It's a very big 3rd down for Southern Mississippi. An 11-play drive working, but they need 6, not field goals, and this is the area of the field sometimes where this Southern Mississippi spread struggle. 3 of 6 on 3rd down tonight. Now 3 of 7. Stephon Gilmore on the tackle.
No DeAndre Brown on the field on that play. You know, this was a guy as a receiver for Southern Miss coming in, we all thought was going to be the guy.
Southern Mississippi can dink and dunk all they want in this football game. At some point, they need a presence downfield. DeAndre Brown, Craig, he needs to be that guy. He's got to show up.
Yep.
Daniel Rapman knocked one through from 33 yards earlier. This one from 36 is career long 38. Rapman is true, and Southern Mississippi has his 2nd field goal of the night, not too far away from halftime. Time to check in with our buddy John Saunders. John?
Well, Reese, coming up on the IBM halftime report, Mark and Lou will rejoin me. We'll, of course, look at the Ohio State Buckeyes in action tonight. Miami Hurricanes, what type of season will they have? They kicked it off tonight as well. And USC against Hawaii tonight at 11 on ESPN. We'll look ahead at what type of season USC is looking forward to with all the sanctions they have. All coming up on the IBM halftime report. Reese.
All right, John, the sanctions thinning out the USC roster. Some guys that were eligible to transfer immediately because of the postseason ban have done so. So not the traditional depth that you're used to seeing from the Trojans. Might not show up tonight, but probably will at some point.
I tell you where it shows up. At practice. For me, USC was special the last several years because at practice they were unbelievable and they didn't have to worry about losing a body and going down to injuries. But now they've got to be cautious. They don't have enough bodies out there.
What I like, though, about USC's attitude this season is that they're not packing it up just because they can't go play in a bowl game and can't go win the Pac-10 conference. Their goal is to go 12-0 and be #1 in the AP poll at the end of the season. They have something to play for, and the players are buying into the message from Lane Kiffin that way.
Lane Kiffin has certainly been the subject of plenty of controversy in this offseason, too. I'm sure he and the Trojan staff will be glad to get the season underway, and you can see it tonight on the first Thursday night of the season. Southern Mississippi kicking off after his field goal. Bryce Sherman has it for South Carolina. Appeared for a moment that Sherman might have an alley to go off to the races, but it quickly closed up, something that all of the guys in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series can identify with. That series heads back south for Labor Day weekend. Only a couple of races remain for Jamie McMurray and Martin Martin to get off the bubble and into the chase. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series in Atlanta on ESPN Sunday at 7:30 Eastern Time. Kevin Harvick leads Jeff Gordon in the Sprint Cup Series by 279 points. And here he is just before halftime, a shade under 2 minutes to go. The freshman Connor Shaw will actually take a snap at quarterback this time. Shaw impressive in the spring, actually outperformed statistically Stephen Garcia in most of the fall scrimmages. Shaw is going to run it. Connor Shaw got a good block from Brian Maddox. His first collegiate carry results in a first down.
We were looking in the weight room at all of the charts and the individual breakout groups, running backs, receivers, and all of their stats. Man, Connor Shaw was at the top as a freshman in his categories.
He's an unbelievable athlete. The coaches love his running ability. When you talk to him, they say he has that it factor. He's got that moxie about him that his teammates surround themselves and really attract to.
Shaw now running 2-minute drill. Here to Southern Mississippi. Jumped into the neutral zone. Might have been Anthony Gray.
Difference of opinion, Jesse, of what moxie means. Let's get this call.
Dead ball, offside, 95, defense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
There are a lot of people who say that you got a lot of moxie. That kid's got some moxie. That means he's got a lot of heart and no talent.
Fundamentally sound.
Yeah, he's fundamentally. That guy's got some moxie now. I think Shaw's got talent.
Connor Shaw's got a lot of talent. You mentioned earlier he's the son of a high school football coach. He's a football junkie. Spends a lot of time in the film room, and that shows up when you've watched him in scrimmages. He's very, very sure of himself in this offense.
Shaw's first pass, putting it up top and almost making the grab was D.L. Moore. Bring up 2nd and 5.
Steve Spurrier pointing at his true freshman quarterback on the sideline. Go the other way. Throw on the other side. We got Alshon Jeffrey. We got another guy at 6'4". Try him.
Yeah, but he sees that mismatch. That's the thing that impresses me is that watching him in practice, Shaw is not, the game's not fast. He had the spring. He came in January. He went through spring practice, was successful, and so the game's not too fast for him right now.
And to that point, Craig, what I like about Connor Shaw is the fact that he does not look confused when he's out there playing. He takes his steps and he throws the football on time. He has a plan. He understands where he wants to go depending on the coverage. You don't see that very often as a true freshman.
No. And Shaw had to grab a timeout. The play clock was about to expire on him. So for all of the moxie and football understanding that he has, he is still a freshman. You know, South Carolina really struggled running the football in the last couple of years. They were dead last in the SEC a year ago. But it's been much better thus far tonight in the first half. Stephen Garcia got it rolling with. You like to see your quarterback do that. That ignites the whole team.
Yeah, it ignites the team, but you don't want to get him injured, Craig.
No, but the offensive line, now we're showing you skilled players doing things. But we have not seen Southern Miss defensive linemen or linebackers breaking clean in the backfield. It's allowed the skilled players to do their thing.
I think the good news watching South Carolina run the football so far in this first half is that they've done it conventionally with 2 backs in the backfield and a tight end on the field, and they've run it between the tackles. They've gotten good production from their quarterbacks, both of them, running downfield and making plays, and they've been able to do it unconventionally. They've gotten wide receivers involved on reverses. It's very, very balanced. Difficult to game plan for.
98 seconds remaining in the first half. Connor Shaw, the freshman quarterback, looking at a 2nd and 5. South Carolina, after its opening drive of the half, has been dominant on offense. Here's the freshman. He's going to run it again. He's got plenty of room. Connor Shaw down to the 30-yard line. Scramble for the football, but immediately the officials are ruling it was down. A 29-yard run for Shaw.
You can see Connor Shaw's running ability. You know, growing up, he was the younger brother of Jabo Shaw, who played quarterback at Georgia Tech and is now transferred to Georgia Southern. So Connor had to play wide receiver. And you can see some of those quicks and some of those the running ability once he gets outside.
So what's happening here is now opponents down the road will realize that they have to game plan their defensive line and linebackers to spy, to contain when Shaw's in the game, because of his running ability and putting that additional pressure on a defense.
Shaw's knee clearly down the previous play before the ball came loose. Plenty of company for Shaw, and he'll go down and take the sack. Dedrick Jones, Terrence Pope spending time in the South Carolina backfield.
A lot of jerseys there coming, Jesse, on that freshman that time.
I was going to say, there wasn't a lot of answers right there for Connor Shaw. Southern Miss had enough of that, and they brought the heat.
They did.
Oh, see the umpire falling down there in the middle of the field. Stay on your feet, big guy.
He got back up.
In the NFL, they put him in the backfield to keep him out of harm's way. Shaw shakes off one, does not shake off the second. Dedrick Jones slams him to the turf as we get close to a half minute in the first half.
Yeah, this is all about freshman quarterback. 7 rushers the last 2 times. They're bringing it.
There's been a couple free rushers now. I think Southern Mississippi is green dogging. The linebackers are letting the running backs block, and then they're deciding to blitz.
South Carolina has no timeouts. Wheel route, and Shaw left it a little bit short for Lattimore, or he might have scored. I don't know if they're going to be able to get the next play off. Not a first down, no timeouts, and time will expire in the first half for South Carolina. Southern Mississippi very fortunate as Shaw didn't put that ball out front on Lattimore, or we'd have another touchdown right before halftime. As it is, the Gamecocks, fine offensive performance, up 24-6. We'll check in now with Jen Brown.
Coach, on the first offensive series, you went 3 and out, but the offense has really settled in. What has impressed you most?
We played a little better. We've been able to mix the run and the pass. We blew a nice opportunity right there, though. We had a couple guys open, and we should hit. So we're not hitting as many passes. We got to run it in all the time, but that's okay. But we've had some opportunities we just hadn't hit.
Talk about running it in. Freshman running back Marcus Lattimore is doing great. 2 touchdowns.
He's a good back, and Kenny Miles, those other guys are good ones too. But Marcus, yeah, he's pretty good.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Yeah, well said.
Well said. 24 points. 24 is more than they averaged last year. 24-6. Let's go to John Saunders and my buddies Mark May and Lou Holtz for the IBM halftime report. Guys, we're just about to start the second half here in Columbia. Watching the SEC on ESPN. Southern Mississippi taking on South Carolina. The Gamecocks out of the SEC with a 24-6 lead as we're just about to start the third quarter. Reese Davis, Jesse Palmer here, Jen Brown down on the sideline. First half dominated by South Carolina late. Let's take a look back at our protection spotlight brought to you by Castrol GPS.
We're seeing the evolution of Stephen Garcia at quarterback. A year ago, when receivers were covered downfield, Stephen Garcia would scramble around and he would take unnecessary sacks. Early in this game, with receivers downfield blanketed, instead of scrambling around, Stephen Garcia puts his foot in the ground, he runs north, and he's able to make big plays with his feet.
And I thought this really was the beginning of the end, in the first half at least, of Southern Mississippi's defense, because they didn't have anybody to account for Garcia's legs. It wore them out. They couldn't recover from that, and then the receivers on the outside started taking advantage of having their height and body size over the smaller corners. So the combination of inside Garcia running on that play and the receivers outside, just too much in the first half.
Garcia, very sharp passing. South Carolina, which was last in the SEC in rushing last year, ran it for 164 yards. The freshman Marcus Lattimore had a couple of short touchdown runs. And basically, it had Williams-Brice rocking. This a season that South Carolina believes it can break through, perhaps make it to the SEC championship game. And the second half is underway. Southern Mississippi needs something positive to happen on offense quickly. Tracy Lampley couldn't handle it. They'll get it on the 20. Our coaching adjustments brought to you by the Home Depot.
Well, you know what? We're going to work this way. You got to get the ball in the hands of your best players. DeAndre Brown, coming into this football game, we expected in our film study and listening to the coaches that they were going to get this really good, talented player the ball. He only had one pass thrown his way.
We understand South Carolina has one of the best pass defenses in the entire country, but if you're going to get the opportunity to win games, your best players have to touch the football. DeAndre Brown is the best football player on the Southern Miss football team. Throw him the football.
Now keep it on the ground for the first play of the second half. And B.J. Floyd will pick up about 5. To your points about DeAndre Brown, he's 6'6", 240. He has the 2 longest catches in Southern Mississippi history. If he has a great year this year, which he's not having a good start tonight, he's going to break every career record in Southern Mississippi history. Second down and 5.
And he's not even on the field.
The coaches have been looking for more consistency from him. Quentin Pierce, who plays the same spot, the ex-receiver for Southern Mississippi, makes a grant.
And I think we're all for, Jesse. We're all for discipline if something needs to be done and you're trying to motivate players. But, you know, at some point you get them on the field, you gotta get that guy out there.
Floyd, I don't think he made it. Rodney Paulk coming back from a knee injury. In fact, Rodney had missed most of the last 2 seasons with injuries to each knee. 6 tackles in the first half of the opener last year before getting injured. And he makes the stop in Southern Mississippi. Looks as if it's going to be 3 and out, about a half yard away from a first down.
Travian Robertson, 300-pound DT. He got in the backfield deeper than the ball carrier. That's that 4 new offensive linemen on Southern Mississippi not being able to get it done on 3rd and short.
Well, Peter Boehm is going to punt it away. The average looks good. The kicks themselves have not. They've been low knuckleballs, but he's gotten good rolls. Little rugby look to go to the side to try to keep it away from Stephon Gilmore, and does that effectively. And South Carolina will get it about the 38. Jen Brown's on the sideline.
Thanks. I talked to Larry Fedora coming out of the half, and he's not happy on all fronts. He says on offense, they need to score more than just a field goal when they're in the red zone. On defense, they need to get off the field, and well, special teams, they haven't done really anything special.
It was one of the things, Jen, that Southern Mississippi hoped to make a play in special teams. Now, the special teams for South Carolina, guided by a guy with pretty good special teams pedigree in Shane Beamer. But Tracy Lampley, a dangerous guy, and he really hasn't had much of an opportunity so far tonight. Which is helpful if you make them punt, and that's something that Southern Mississippi really wasn't able to do, except for the opening drive of the game. Next 4 possessions resulted in scores as Marcus Lattimore gets the first carry of the second half and the longest carry of his college career up to this point as he rips off 9.
You know, one of the things that we're not seeing in this defense tonight is their starting linebackers making tackles. Jesse, they accounted as a group for 317 tackles last year. They got to show up and make plays.
Mark Lattimore down a couple of yards short of where I did, so Marcus just gets it back and takes care of it himself and gets the first down.
Guys, we talked earlier about the inconsistency in the running game for South Carolina offensively. 3 different offensive line coaches in the last 3 years. We got to give some attention to new offensive line coach Sean Elliott. He was at Appalachian State the last 13 years. He's come in, he's kind of reorchestrated this run game to fit what he's done in the past, and right now it's looking really good.
Elliott replaces Eric Wolford, who took over as head coach at Youngstown State. Elliott part of those national championship programs at Appalachian State, but he grew up in Camden, South Carolina. A lifelong Gamecock fan, something Spurrier enjoyed. Garcia, DeMarco, Patrick DeMarco with the dump off.
And here's my point. Stephen Garcia has nowhere to throw this football downfield. And instead of hesitating and to start scrambling around, where do his eyes go right away? To his check down. He's able to hit Patrick DeMarco. It's not a huge gain, but guess what? It's not 2nd and 18.
And you know what caught my attention there were no clean bodies on defense coming clean and to hit the quarterback. So he had time to hit the check down. It all works together.
Lattimore pick up a couple. Jamie Collins, a sophomore linebacker who played in the secondary last year, makes the stop.
And the thing about Sean Elliott, the offensive line coach, and that Appalachian State offense, they were spread. So he had to learn how to coach guys to play in space. And, you know, everybody's got to win their game. And that's what lets a guy like Lattimore cut loose.
Marcus Lattimore told me earlier in the week his favorite run plays are the zone read schemes because he did a lot of that in high school. In this type of system, he feels very comfortable, and the production is just obvious.
The other backs, Kenny Miles, also likes developing patience. So the cutback lanes were pretty good, and it felt like that all of the backs were starting to get a good feel for the way the offensive line works together in the zone blocking scheme.
That was a good feel for Southern Miss's defense, right?
Yeah,
you know what? They 3rd down long, they're able to get off the field.
There's been a rare occurrence for the Golden Eagles tonight.
But here's an offensive line last year that had 10 different guys start. They need consistency. They need 5 guys to be healthy for the majority of the season, play together, and build confidence, build chemistry.
And they're starting left tackle Gerald King. He's not even in there tonight.
Not a good start, is it?
Game plays by Kyle Dunn in the lineup, a flag down in the secondary, and South Carolina can't corral it. And there's a flag on the play. Lampley, the punt returner, appears to be shaken up, but his teammates are going to help Lampley to his feet. One of the more dangerous punt returners in the nation last year. We'll check and see what the flag was about.
Looked like cornerback Jimmy Legree went down as a gunner, and he couldn't locate the football. They had a chance to down that football inside the 5-yard line. It's a big missed opportunity by special teams.
Illegal participation on the defense. 12 players on the field at the snap. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot, first down.
That is a crushing blow. You finally get them off the field, and then you have an extra guy out there on punt return. Frustration evident to Larry Fedora, the 3rd-year head coach at Southern Mississippi.
You know, and he feels the pressure too. They've been 7-6 2 years in a row, and he says that's just not getting around Southern Mississippi. It's easily the winningest program in Conference USA history. Since the inception of the conference in 1996, they've won way more games and been to way more bowl games than everybody else.
Yeah.
People aren't happy with 7-6 and going to a bowl game down in Hattiesburg.
Jeff Bauer, the previous coach, was a heck of a head coach with a very successful career at Southern Mississippi.
In fact, they've had 16 straight winning seasons. That's the 4th longest streak in the nation. Garcia to Alshon Jeffrey. And that's down to about the 25-yard line. Now you see Southern Mississippi and Jeff Bauer did have a great deal of success, but Larry Fedora was brought in to spice up the offense, perhaps enhance recruiting a little bit and try to take Southern Mississippi to the next level. So I do think it's fair to say that while I don't know that anyone really expected them to win this particular game tonight, but they are looking on as perhaps a favorite in their division in Conference USA. Fedora doesn't shy away from the fact they want to win the league, go to the Liberty Bowl. Lattimore, another carry just inside the 25. It'll bring up a 3rd down.
We're going to have to see their offense pick it up. And it all goes back to that offensive line, 4 new starters up front before they can really have that identity that Fedora has had the previous 2 seasons.
You know, this is really new to watch if you're a South Carolina fan. Seeing South Carolina in third down situations of 5 or less. We never have seen that very often in the last few years. It's because they're running the football, and Stephen Garcia is making better decisions.
A lot easier to call ball plays on 3rd and 3 and 3rd and 12. Pitching for the end zone, and Garcia was looking for his freshman Ace Sanders. They couldn't connect.
Now, Jesse, you can maybe help on this one here, but that route with all of the green and the space he had to the pylon, right? He's gotten by his corner. Maybe Garcia with a young freshman, they didn't quite coordinate where they should have gone.
No. They'll go back, watch the tape. There have been a couple of missed opportunities in this football game. Receivers open downfield. They have not connected. It's very possible this game could easily be 38-6 right now if they're able to hit some of those balls.
So Spencer Lanning will try to salvage the drive with a field goal. And he does. The 42-yarder makes it 27-6. Southern Mississippi will try to hang in.
When you feel like Columbia.
7:45 Eastern Time. College football prime time presented by Hampton Hotels.
All part of 6:40 goes kickoff late.
7:45 Saturday night. LSU and North Carolina on ABC. Boise State and Virginia Tech Monday night. Labor Day. Sensational start. The kickoff after the field goal. Jeremy Hester has it for the Golden Eagles. Hester is greeted rudely at the 23-yard line by Cedric Sneed. Well, this is a big weekend for the potential BCS busters. Boise State and TCU, both of whom played in BCS games a year ago, starting in the top 6 of the AP poll. Utah plays Pittsburgh tonight. Houston has the explosive offense, and BYU is always in the mix. But this weekend is really, really important in terms of setting the tone for the BCS busters.
Andy Dalton at TCU. Gary Patterson has a team that's going to replace a couple of defenders. They'll be ready. TCU, again, will be an outstanding football team.
And how about Oregon State gets to play the top 2 teams we just showed on that list? They start the season in TCU's backyard in Arlington. Then they'll travel to the Smurf turf, go take on Boise State, the only 2 non-AQ teams last season.
Playing a BCS game. Wow.
Both of those teams, frankly, particularly Boise State, should Boise State be able to get past Virginia Tech, rooting for the Hokies to have a big season, and then after they play the Beavers, for Oregon State to go on and have a big season. I really think that would be necessary if Boise State played the national championship game mix.
So who's Oregon State's biggest fan this weekend? It's Boise State.
Yeah,
They need Oregon State to be ranked as high as possible when they play them at home week 2.
Boise State's got to win every week, and including this one here really impressively.
They got to be nice. They got to be perfect when they play.
Southern Mississippi has hardly been perfect. They haven't even been very good of late, and they don't get anything done on 3rd down. A 3 and out. Devin Taylor applying the pressure on Austin Davis, and the Golden Eagles will have to punt it away.
Here is the schedule for Boise State. As
mentioned, it starts against number 10 Virginia Tech in FedEx Field on ESPN Monday night. That'll be a barn burner. And then you see the Beavers coming up late September, and then not much.
Is that you drawn? Who's drawn there?
That's you.
That'd be me. But that's why they've got to get it done. They have to look impressive early. And Kellen Moore, he is my preseason Heisman favorite. He's going to have great numbers. He's a heck of a player.
And a lot of talent on that team, but the resume be hard-pressed to match up with some of the other ones. A fine
off the foot of
Bame
over Gilmore's
head and knocked it dead inside the 10-yard line. That's where Carolina will have it when we come back. Throwing up plays in the dirt.
Their best play was get open.
Hey, welcome to the Thursday Night Crew. Now, Thanksgiving Day, we have our Turkey Day football game.
I've heard a rumor about it.
Big event.
And a big play potential. Garcia to Alshon Jeffrey. Beautifully thrown ball. Gets cocky out of its own end of the field and right up into Southern Miss territory.
Watch Alshon Jeffrey not put his hands up too early to show the corner where the football is. You ever watch Randy Moss and those guys that are great deep ball catchers? They don't telegraph when the ball's coming in.
I like the ball where it was placed on the outside
of the shoulder. The receiver stayed inside, then went to the out, moved to the ball. That was great execution.
Alshon Jeffrey over 100 yards receiving tonight. Every time they throw it to him, it's been a first down. That was a big one, 46 yards.
Garcia,
He's down to the 41.
I am very impressed watching Steven Garcia play tonight. It would have been very easy this offseason to shut it down when he took all of that public criticism from Steve Spurrier in the papers. But he rededicated himself and recommitted himself to being the best quarterback he could be. He went, he watched tape, he lost 10 pounds, threw to the receivers all summer long. The hard work is paying off right now for Steven Garcia.
Said it earlier, Jesse. He has been as sharp tonight as we've ever seen him. Ran over a guy for a touchdown earlier. Not shying away from contact tonight either.
He did there too. Now these are little plays that are gaining the trust and respect of his teammates. They see that. They recognize it. And you know what? Coming into this football game, I had the sense South Carolina didn't really know who their quarterback was going to be. We didn't know if it was going to be Connor Shaw or Garcia. So, bingo, big night for South Carolina and Steve Spurrier to figure that guy out. Garcia is their quarterback.
it was obvious that the criticism
stung Garcia. There's no better way to answer the bell than starting with a splendid performance. Marcus Lattimore. Well, you should have seen the pony up here in the booth. A little fire up, a little fist pump when Lattimore avoided the first tackle. What did you see there, Pony?
Hey, I'll tell you what I saw. You saw that big defensive lineman when he first hit, bang! The D lineman at about 290 went straight to the ground. Lattimore was ready to keep going.
It's like you keep saying, Craig, he plays behind his pads, and he keeps his pad level even. They don't rock and roll, so he doesn't get knocked over easily. He has great balance and a constant motor to keep plowing north.
He's one fine-looking freshman running back. Split to the bottom of your screen now on 2nd and 9. Garcia wants it all. He's got his man. Ace Sanders, who had a big run earlier, has a big catch, and South Carolina's on the doorstep again.
Steven Garcia gets exactly what he wants. It's man-to-man coverage, and he knows he has his inside slot receiver running a fade route against a much bigger and slower defender. Beautifully paced ball outside his outside shoulder.
You know what? And here you got a freshman receiver that's a scatterback guy. And he played receiver that time, and he was a good one. Great job of seeing the ball in.
And it sets up 1st and goal. You know Spurrier wants to toss this one in. He'll have to, I was about to say he'll have to settle for the run, but Garcia got hammered by Jamie Collins.
Notorious Cotton right at the goal line.
Now, I know I said Steven Garcia lost 10 pounds. He's still close to 230. But when he gets in, it looks like that ball's over. That's a touchdown.
Got to see where the legs are, but the ball crossed. Where the legs?
Well, he's up. Playing the goal line, he's good.
That should have been 6. My point being, when Steven Garcia gets into the SEC conference play, he's going to want to start sliding.
or put 10 pounds back on.
Wearing neck roll.
I love his attitude and his competitiveness, and he's out trying to get first downs and touchdowns, and he's a big physical player. It's the way he's played his whole life. But he's playing well. I don't know if Spurrier wants to lose him.
I'm not sure that Steven Garcia is not surprising himself tonight. That what he can do and the confidence he has. I didn't see him last year take off and try to run people over at the goal line.
But that's my point, Craig. He's a different quarterback. He's making smart decisions. And let's see here, this left knee right here, it's not down. And we got the same time code on the opposite side. The ball is across the plane.
Well,
it's the same picture we just took from a different angle with his knee not touching the ground. This should be a touchdown. But again, the referees will go back and look at this, and it has to be indisputable evidence to overturn the call that it was not.
Yeah, this just is such a different Garcia. I had a chance to do their game with Georgia last year. South Carolina played really well in that game. Really good football game. And Garcia played well. I thought it was going to be the launching game for his career. blocked extra point that really cost him at the end. Remember the game,
Right,
Reese?
sure,
And at the end they're down there.
They were in field goal range, could have tied it.
Absolutely.
Right?
So, and they look back on that game as a team right now, and that really stung South Carolina. But from that game to this game with Garcia's performance, of course, it doesn't hurt to have a guy like Lattimore back there that's taking some pressure off running the ball too.
No, there's no question. Certainly, Stephen Garcia has more weapons around him this year, and that certainly is helping.
After further review, the reeling is a touchdown.
Took him 1:40 and they got it right. Stephen Garcia, his second touchdown on the ground tonight. And South Carolina's turning this one into a rout.
It's the third time tonight we've seen Stephen Garcia drop back with nobody open downfield, and he's gone and made something positive happen with his feet.
A 6-play, 92-yard drive. The big pass play from Garcia to Jeffrey got it started.
And Garcia finishing it off with a 3-yard
touchdown run. And South Carolina is off to a headstrong, tough-minded, blue-collar start, and they're blowing out the Golden Eagles. College football prime time, the drive to the national championship on the DirecTV bus. It ferried us
from our spacious
quarters at the hotel
over to Williams-Brice
Stadium earlier tonight. A lap of luxury. See it going around the country all year long on the DirecTV drive to the national championship bus. I don't know that we would ordain South Carolina a contender for that just yet, but certainly this is
exactly the type of start
they need it if they are going to fulfill the expectations and be a contender in the SEC East. 4 touchdown runs tonight. Quentin Pierce returning the kickoff after the latest Gamecock score.
He gets to the 25.
Flags are flying all over the place. And not much is going Larry Fedora's way at the moment. And there's another
thing going against him.
Southern Mississippi, for the last 5 times it's had the ball, they've gone 3 and out.
During the return, holding number 38 of the receiving team, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Well, celebrating its 6th year of sponsoring the Good Hands Field Goal Nets, Allstate makes contributions to participating universities' general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kick. To date, Allstate has contributed more than $2.1 million in scholarship money.
There's DeAndre Brown at the top of the screen. Facing up against Stephon Gilmore. Back in the game.
Brown is yet to catch a pass tonight. The highest rated recruit ever to sign with Southern Mississippi, and they've been unable to get him involved tonight. A big time hit from Akeem Auguste, just laying out Desmond Johnson.
And you know what, Auguste earlier in the game, remember he was the one who had great defense, deflected a ball that was intercepted, played very well.
Just listen to this hit. And he's a guy that at only 5'10" is probably a little undersized. He used to play cornerback, but he's made a very easy transition because he's such a physical player at that safety spot. He'll come up and hit you.
He's, as you said, Jesse, he's about 5'10", and he switched positions with Chris Culliver. Culliver, one of the defensive starters, not on the field tonight.
Johnson catches the 40
from Austin Davis, and it's close to the 35. Culliver last year is a big hitter as well, a physical guy, but he continued to have problems with his shoulders. He's a little bit taller, and Ellis Johnson told us that he felt like now you like to have tall corners, you can get away with shorter safeties, and physically
it's been better for both of them.
With trouble keeping Culliver healthy, and he's not in gear tonight. Another quick passing completion for Southern Mississippi.
We've been around several games now over the last few years with South
Carolina and Ellis Johnson.
Every time we come out there, we're always like, man, that Ellis Johnson, he talks down here. He just, you know, his state's going to do this and we're going to do that. He understands what it takes to win. You know what? He knows the formula. There's no guessing.
Ellis Johnson's been a lot of places in the South. At one time was an assistant at Southern Mississippi.
Mississippi State.
Mississippi State had some of the fine defenses there. Second down. Davis
Trying to get it to DeAndre Brown, and he threw it over.
I think we're all shocked at the inability of the Southern Miss offense to get DeAndre Brown the ball. And you have to give this guy credit right here. Ellis Johnson has put together a package and coverages. They're doubling him. They're keeping him out of this football game. He's not been able to get involved. And that's shocking.
Stephon Gilmore on a couple of the plays we've seen. He has been assigned to DeAndre Brown, but Ellis told us that it wasn't a situation where he could just tell Gilmore, you chase 5 wherever he goes.
But Southern Mississippi 5 has
Been standing over there large majority of the night. Davis complete, first down, the grab by Jodrick Morris.
And to help people at home understand about DeAndre Brown, he's a receiver that's 6'6",
240 pounds.
He runs a 4.40, and he bench presses 225 pounds 25 times. Larry Fedora said he's physically better than Dez Bryant, who he coached at Oklahoma State.
Well, he's certainly not
Dez Bryant right now
as a receiver.
All right, let's check in with Jen a little bit more on DeAndre Brown.
Well, if we remember, guys, back in the New Orleans Bowl in 08, his tibia snapped in half. Now, I talked to the trainer about what exactly was done to repair that. They said that they did surgery that night. They put a rod in his leg. They x-ray it every 3 months, but he is not even putting a pad on it, and he's been 100% since last September.
Hey, Jen, on that last series, we saw the head coach, Larry Fedora, a little bit upset with his big play receiver, DeAndre Brown. We know there were issues this offseason with his commitment level,
effort level, and I wonder if that's not the reason
he's in the game right now.
Very possible.
DeAndre has been challenged by not only Fedora, but wide receivers coach Casey Dunn, new wide receivers coach Casey Dunn, who came over from the Seahawks, a former assistant
under Mike Price at Washington
State, to compete more. And the one thing Larry said that DeAndre didn't do anywhere near as well as Dez Bryant is when the ball's in the air, looking at it and saying, that's mine. I'm going to get it.
Dez Bryant did that.
Yes, he does.
And he still does that. When the ball's in the air, he believes it's his. Now,
having said all this, guys, we need to kind of couch this and remember,
they're playing against a team from the SEC that's pretty darn good, right?
Yeah.
So you got to give credit sometimes to the other guys.
Desmond Johnson going to have enough for the first down at the 39-yard line as we
get inside a minute and a half
to go in the third quarter. Here's the third-year coach talking with his receiver.
Well, here's an example of what I'm talking about. And just earlier, a few plays before, it looked as though DeAndre Brown was loafing on a route, and Austin Davis didn't have anywhere to throw, and he ended up throwing it away.
It looks right there.
Well, Larry Fedora is saying, hey, you want to play? You want to get out there? Because if you're going to do it, I need 100%. Otherwise, just don't even go out there.
I think when DeAndre was in high school, there were some that were concerned about
his academics. That is one
area of his life as a student athlete. He is corrected. He maintained a 3.0 grade point average to make the athletic director's honor roll, but not much honor in what the offense has going tonight. Jesse Palmer and Jen Brown with you on the opening Thursday night of the regular season.
There's the matchup again right here, 5 versus 5, the two best players on the field.
DeAndre Brown, Stephon
Gilmore after the
tongue lashing DeAndre got from his head coach. Desmond Johnson, a tough run. And another hard hit by the South Carolina secondary. Devontae Holloman delivering it.
You know, it can be really challenging and negative if you've got a great player on your football
team and he's not performing.
Whether that's your fault or the player's fault. It can really become a distraction. So Fedora's going to have to figure out one way or the other how to get 5 going.
Davis's pass is complete. Jodrick Morris
probably had the best night of any
of the Southern Mississippi receivers.
We watched this last play here, and gives you an idea of DeAndre Brown. What they did was they bracketed on the inside and the outside, so he wasn't open. There's nothing you could do about that.
Stephon Gilmore was not lined up on him that time, and that time they had safety help
coming from up top
to ensure the slant route could not be completed.
Did you see that? Took it away from him?
Yeah. Ellis Johnson, again, great job game plan.
Quarter winding down. We'll see if Southern gets off the snap. And they do not. And that's the end of the third quarter. 15 minutes of football left in Columbia. Southern Mississippi trying to salvage some respect. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series heads back south Labor Day weekend. Only 2 races remain for Jamie McMurray and Mark Martin to get off the bubble and into the chase. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series in Atlanta on ESPN Sunday, 7:30
Eastern Time.
Kevin Harvick leading the way on Jeff Gordon in the Sprint Cup Series by 279 points. Austin Davis going up top, a lot of contact. The outside was C.C. Whitlock on the cover against Brown.
I tell you what, those NASCAR guys around this time of the season, putting those suits on, going around a track, the heat, how much you sweat, the G-force.
Tell you what, I've been in one of those NASCARs before, taken around at about 200 miles an hour, and that G-force is real.
Yeah, I hear it's tough even at 170.
Oh.
DirecTV bus is doing about 48 on the way to the stadium tonight.
When was that?
Well, maybe 8. Little shuffle pass on the inside to V.J. Floyd.
You know, we're used to seeing South Carolina defensively have great pass defense. I got to say, I'm very impressed with them tonight. There was one coverage mishap where there was a busted coverage and a big play. Aside from that, it has really been a lot about secondary tonight so far for South Carolina.
Well, we're working on a package here. We're going to show you the South Carolina defense. We've been talking offense and Stephen Garcia, but to answer your question, Reese, if they're a legitimate contender, it's going to be because of the defense. Again.
And they'll get a couple of their guys back. Shaq Wilson was the leading returning tackler. He's had a hamstring problem, plays the weak side linebacker. They'll get him back a little bit later on. So, Lonnie Ajaboy all
Wrapped up on a hand, he'll get
healthy.
Culliver,
one would presume. Defensive back will be back at some point this year, though Whitlock has played very well, as you took a look at Shaq Wilson watching along the sidelines. First and 10 for the Golden Eagles inside South Carolina 20. Austin Davis stopped at the 13.
You know, watching them in practice on Tuesday and Ellis Johnson coaching them and all of their adjustments, they're a smarter defense. And now they're going to be jazzed up because their offense is better. They won't have to be out there as long.
They've got Georgia coming up next.
I think that's going to be a good ball.
It is going to be a good test for both teams. And against this defense, Georgia is breaking in a new quarterback, and Aaron Murray, very thin at the quarterback position. Davis had to get rid of it, and he threw it over Quentin Pierce. Gilmore gave him a little shot late. Pierce a little slow to get up.
You know, about that Georgia ball game, if this is what's really kind of poor about preseason polls. If we had seen South Carolina play and Stephen Garcia in their offense now, do you think that they would have been given consideration for top 25?
Sure. Absolutely.
Reese?
No, there's any question about it. I would say that, you know, not to rain on the parade, but it is the Southern Mississippi defense. They talked a lot of improvement, but there was no tangible proof that they would be improving in defense. It's not so far.
That's raining.
That's why
Bonafide downpour right there.
like Hurricane Earl is.
I've got my wetsuit on right now.
Douse the parade. We're back after this. South Carolina leading Southern Mississippi 34-6 in the fourth. Southern Mississippi training staff attending to Quentin
Pierce, who was hurt
after this hit
by Stephon Gilmore.
it looks like he just gets his cleat caught in the grass and it kind of rolls over that ankle. Quentin Pierce was competing for playing time with DeAndre Brown at that X-receiver spot. Quentin Pierce is actually cousins with DeAndre Brown on the sidelines.
Now Southern Miss knocking at the door.
Called Quentin Pierce a workhorse, a technician at the receiver spot. Ball's on the ground, going the other way. Tony Straughter. Running down and saving the touchdown was DeAndre Brown, but disaster strikes the Golden Eagles again.
We talked to Matthews this week and asked him what he thought about this season.
He says, it's my turn, my time to step up. We said
At the beginning of this game, we asked the question, who's going to replace Eric Norwood in the big plays, right? Bang! Matthews steps up, makes a play.
He's a guy who's going to become a leader on this defense, but right now you're seeing an opportunistic unit looking for turnovers. Ellis Johnson, the defensive coordinator, continued to stress that to his guys. That's 2 on the day so far. That's off to a good start.
Well, they want to get to 16 on the season. Only 6 last year, so they're well on their way.
Also worth pointing out that Southern Mississippi was 10th in the country in
Turnover margin last year. Connor Shaw.
into the game at quarterback for South Carolina. They are -2 tonight.
Now this is maybe the perfect time to bring in your true freshman quarterback. Certainly Steve Spurrier thought it was going to happen way sooner in the football game.
You got another padded lead, 34-6.
Allow him to go out, get comfortable in the system, call the plays, feel a big game atmosphere.
Well, it's the SEC, having 2 at every position, any position.
Very important.
Spurrier told us this week there wasn't really anyone on the schedule that they could hang half 100 on the way they did back in the day at Florida, but Gamecocks get a score here and they might have a shot at it.
Hey, and you know what, Reese? I think back
For me personally, watching that
national championship game last year in Texas, losing Colt McCoy so early and not having any experience in your backup quarterback. And I understand, you know, you're rolling through the season and your guy's going for a Heisman, but if you're a coach, right, Jesse, you're thinking, hey.
And believe me, having played for Steve Spurrier,
Both quarterbacks will play this year at some point.
But it really pays off for you, too.
Absolutely. Well, and Steve Spurrier will be the first to tell you, if you have 2 that can play them both.
Connor Shaw. It's inside the 20. Picks up a first down.
3rd down run. Garrett Johnson
on the stop. Now, Connor Shaw grew up following Florida football, and when Steve Spurrier went to recruit him, he said, I understand you grew up a Florida fan. And Connor Shaw said, no, sir. I grew up a Coach Spurrier fan. So he had always admired the way Spurrier handled quarterbacks. Clearly didn't always call Jesse for everything that happened during the time. But he wanted to play for Spurrier. He's has the type of demeanor that it seems he will flourish under the
exacting tutelage
of head ball coach. Freshman throwing, touchdown, South Carolina. D.L. Moore.
We talked about it all week.
About receivers, throw to them where they're open, throw them open. Look how patient Shaw is in the pocket. The quarterback waiting, knowing where the opening is going to occur.
He's not eyeballing his receiver. He's throwing it into the area. His receiver is going to be
make sure there's no
defender there. He throws it on time. That's tic-tac-toe touchdown.
Pretty sticky hands by the sophomore from Bowling Green, Kentucky, too. Lanning makes it a 41-6 lead for the Gamecocks.
The freshman
Connor Shaw, the first touchdown pass of his career. First in town, it's because a competitor years and years ago put up that sign. Cromer stuck with it, and it stuck with him, and Southern Mississippi's
been unable to stick with
South Carolina here tonight. 41-6, Connor Shaw.